Mike built a fallout shelter at home and took his wife inside to hide from nuclear bombs. Just as they had barely gotten settled, they heard a massive explosion outside. Mike assumed nuclear war had broken out, so he immediately sealed the shelter door and set a 40-year countdown timer to ensure they'd be safe from radiation. When his wife learned they couldn't come out for 40 years, she was completely stunned. However, what they didn't realize was that the loud crash wasn't a nuclear explosion at all. It was just a plane that had accidentally crashed nearby. But Mike, being a scientist, didn't panic. The shelter was well equipped with plenty of batteries and a storage room bigger than a supermarket stocked with enough supplies to last over 40 years. 3 days later, his wife gave birth to their son, Tony. Knowing the child might spend his entire life underground, Mike built a library in the shelter and taught Tony 8 languages from an early age. In his spare time, he'd show Tony the flowers and plants they grew and help him catch fish from their artificial pond. Meanwhile, his wife taught Tony dancing and social etiquette. Despite being cut off from the world, the family of 3 lived a warm and fulfilling life. Mike even gave Tony his prized baseball card collection and stocks as gifts. Time flew by, and Tony was now a 40-year-old man while his parents had visibly aged. One night, a strange noise woke the entire family. They rushed to the door and discovered the 40-year countdown had finally ended. Freedom was within reach. But for safety reasons, Mike decided to go up alone first to scout things out. He put on heavy protective gear and went to the surface, only to find his home in ruins. As he carefully looked around, he unexpectedly encountered a boy dressed in women's clothing and a filthy beggar, which scared him so much that he ran back underground. He told his wife everything he'd seen and concluded that the people outside had been genetically altered by radiation. He firmly warned his wife not to go outside and planned to seal the door again. This time, however, Mary refused to listen. She didn't want to stay trapped underground anymore, and she especially didn't want their 40-year-old son to never see the outside world. During their argument, Mike suddenly had a heart attack. While he was bedridden recovering, Mary gave Tony money and told him to go buy supplies since their food was running dangerously low. Tony immediately took the baseball cards his father had given him and rode the elevator to the surface for the first time. Seeing other humans besides his parents for the first time, Tony was incredibly excited. He got on a bus and went to the legendary place called a supermarket. However, after 40 years, prices had increased tenfold. The money his mother gave him couldn't buy much of anything. Tony had to go back home to figure something out. It was getting dark and he couldn't find his way home. That's when he came across a collectibles shop. Tony excitedly walked in, planning to sell the baseball cards his father had given him. The shop owner, taking advantage of Tony's ignorance, tried to buy all his cards for just $2. Naive Tony actually thought the owner was being nice. Anna, an employee at the shop, couldn't stand watching this happen and exposed the owner's scam. She told Tony that any single card was worth $1 million. The owner got furious and immediately fired Anna. Walking down the street, Tony asked Anna to help him find a place to stay. Anna was suspicious. Seeing Tony following her, she thought he might be dangerous until Tony offered her a baseball card in exchange. For the money, Anna took him to a hotel. The next day, though, Anna voluntarily returned the baseball card to Tony, saying she couldn't just accept expensive gifts from people. Tony felt guilty for causing her to lose her job and wanted to make it up to her. He hoped Anna would help him sell the baseball cards and use the money to buy necessities. Worried she might refuse, he decided to offer her substantial compensation. Eventually, tempted by the money, Anna agreed. They quickly sold the baseball cards and bought a truckload of supplies. After spending several days together, Tony found Anna beautiful and kind, so he decided to confess his feelings. Just as Anna was about to say yes, Tony suddenly suggested she come live underground with him. Anna was shocked by this and suspected Tony had mental health issues, so she immediately called in a psychologist. The doctor planned to take Tony to the hospital for treatment, but Tony thought he was being taken to jail and quickly drove away. Anna discovered that all the items Tony had been using were from 40 years ago, which made her start wondering if she'd misunderstood him. Just then, her friend found that Tony's stocks were also from 40 years ago and were now worth tens of millions. Anna suddenly realized that maybe everything Tony had said was true. They immediately went out looking for Tony, but finding him in such a crowded city wasn't easy. Just as they were about to give up and head home, they spotted Tony by chance. Anna quickly caught up with him. Tony then took Anna to the underground shelter to meet his parents. His parents were delighted to see their son had brought home a beautiful wife and immediately prepared KFC to welcome her. Soon after, Tony sold his treasured baseball card collection and became a multi-millionaire overnight. They used this fortune to buy a large piece of land. To help his parents adjust to life above ground more easily, Tony built a house that was identical to their underground shelter. Once everything was ready, he moved his parents up to the surface. His mother was so excited to see the sky again that she danced with joy. Tony honestly told his father that there had been no nuclear war 40 years ago. It was just a plane that had crashed into their house. His father looked completely incredulous. With his intelligence, he couldn't believe he could have been so wrong. It seemed it would take a long time for him to accept this reality. However, not long after, his father started measuring the ground again. He was planning to build another nuclear fallout shelter.